Entertainment Network.
Iron Reese. The talk is still real. We still on the corner. We gonna touch on some topics.
SKN, we got topics. Let's have a discussion. The people got questions. The people want answers. Yeah, we got topics. Let's have a discussion. The people got questions. The people want answers. Yeah, it's real talking. It's real talk. It's real talking. It's real talk. It's real talking. Real talk. It's real talking. Real talk. Yeah.
Iron Reese. The talk is still real. We still on the corner. We gonna touch on some topics.
It's real talking. It's real talk. It's real talking. It's real talk. It's real talking. Real talk. It's real talking. Real talk. Yeah.
Check it out, you know, in tune.
My daddy made this beat.
Yo, check it out, you know, in tune to the dynamic duo. Reese and Ira, on the corner, real talk corner.
Real Entertainment Network.
Iron Reese. The talk is still real. We still on the corner. We gonna touch on some topics.
SKN, we got topics. Let's have a discussion. The people got questions. The people want answers. Yeah, we got topics. Let's have a discussion. The people got questions. The people want answers. Yeah, it's real talking. It's real talk. It's real talking. It's real talk. It's real talking. Real talk. It's real talking. Real talk. Yeah.
Iron Reese.
Dynamic
The
duo,
talk is still real. We still on the corner.
real talk
We
corner.
gonna touch on some topics.
It's real talking, it's real talk. It's real talking, it's real talk. It's real talking, real talk. It's real talking, real talk, yeah.
The thing never crossed over, so nobody hear anything we just said because it's a
Oh,
new
they
set
didn't?
and there's no triggers on
Oh.
it. And because there's no triggers on it, all of what we just said just went out the window. But it doesn't matter.
Oh.
They could hear us now, right? We're gonna
Still
start over.
saying they're not
Take
here.
two.
Okay.
Take
Gigi,
two.
Gigi
Take
says
two.
it's on.
Take two. Take two. Take two. Take two. I need to transfer over the triggers for this new video space that we have. So the question that I asked you was, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Somebody said I'm just like a PLP candidate. My orange is a different orange, not the same
Who
as
said that?
PLP
Well,
orange.
you know, this is an
Gigi.
orange of greatness, eh? This is an orange of
Greatness.
greatness. Yeah, this is an orange of greatness.
Greatness.
This orange come. This is championship week, Tigers week. Whatever week they want to call it. Whoever want to call it,
Mhm.
wherever.
We did not plan it. We just happened to both be from great schools, and
Yeah,
that is all.
yeah. But we're doing well tonight. We're excited about Wednesday. But tonight we're gonna be talking about corruption, and it was an interesting topic to research, and definitely a hard one to pinpoint, like which areas of corruption we wanted to handle talk about tonight. So we decided it's gonna be a series, and tonight we're gonna, of course, open with defining corruption and categories of corruption and some types of corruption. And maybe those that we. I do not want any conflicts in the chat, especially if you represent REN. Big up Reese in the chat. Big up
Hey,
Dahlia.
Reese.
Big up Jetty. And yeah, so we're gonna talk about corruption. Maybe you might get some real world examples of corruption, and some of them we may not even have thought about, or we may not even want to hear. Especially our audience wouldn't want to hear. One in particular that I have. I tell Siobhan I can take the word, so I'm going to be the one to bring that up. But it's a part of it, eh? It's a part of being neutral. I wanna always remind people that Ren Network is a neutral network. We thought about everything. If you look at the background, you're gonna realize there's green on one side, blue on another side, and a little gray line in the middle. That's Ren. Even up to the logos we thought about, because of the political nature of St. Kitts and Nevis. We have a green logo and we have a blue logo. Yeah. If you look at the logo in the back, it's a blue logo. If you look at the logo and the names, it's green. And we're gonna always try to hold true to be neutral. Siobhan, you want to hit me with a definition of corruption?
Yes, I have a very simple definition of corruption. It is dishonest behavior by those in positions of power. And as Dilly says, right now it's the hottest word in St. Kitts and Nevis, I think everywhere, since the last election in August, the last federal election. It's something that we've been hearing a lot of. Some people might hear the name and know what it is in context, but technically it is dishonest behavior by those in positions of power. And I think from that definition alone, we know that a lot of things can fall into corruption. There's a lot of different examples and scenarios that we could play out that would add up to corruption.
A lot of things, yeah. Sadly enough, there are some things that are not illegal, and it could fall into the realm of corruption. And
Correct.
we're gonna get into the categories of corruption, mainly conventional and unconventional corruption, and we're gonna focus on probably the conventional side tonight, and a few examples of those. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a wild one. Hit them with the conventional. What is conventional corruption?
Okay, conventional corruption.
Source it too. Give them the source.
I don't have the source in this thing that I have it saved in. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. I'll pull it up. It's
from the Canadian group. Yeah. But conventional corruption occurs when government officials, whether higher or lower ranking, illegitimately receive or accumulate an undue advantage from their own personal use, disregarding public interests. So it's when a member of high or low ranking, they receive an advantage without public interest. So it's an act that disregards public interest for personal gain.
Even with that
Um,
definition, I would kind of say, well, you look at
it's kind of
pork
broad, right?
barrel, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's some public
Yes,
interest in that, but but go ahead,
right.
continue.
Right. I think what makes conventional corruption conventional is the element of reciprocity. So
That is
conventional
important.
corruption is two-sided. There's
Mm-hmm.
somebody who gives and somebody who receives. In that case, both people kind of receive something,
Yeah,
but there's a give and a taker.
yeah.
In the unconventional corruption, the government official acts without consideration of the public's interests, with the goal of receiving specific or personal gain,
Mm-hmm.
but there is no relationship of reciprocity. So, as
Definitely.
Nevis people would say, they're corrupt for bad mind.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody who's giving them anything, but they're acting in their best interests still.
Thieving. They like to dress
Thieving,
it up as embezzlement. Thieving
embezzlement,
is
yes,
thieving. The thieving for themselves.
aka misappropriation of
Yeah.
funds.
Bribery though on the other side is conventional, because here, take
Someone
this
offers.
and then you for this, right? So that's two examples right there. We're not going into the thieving tonight. People like thieving. Stay away from it. No, honestly, yeah, we won't touch the unconventional tonight.
Embezzlement, yeah.
It's just a lot. It's just a lot. We will touch on nepotism, cronyism, patronage. Say it
Yep.
for me.
Patronage.
Yeah, patronage.
Patronage.
Wherever you're from in the
Bribery.
world, bribery for sure. Bribery, I think, is a hot topic. Big up the two Rasta man them we had on this show. I know they can burn a lot of fire upon the one, but the pork barrel, you know what I mean? You're not about no pork.
Pork barreling.
Pork barreling. And
Kickbacks.
Kickbacks. We love a good kickback, right? We all love a good kickback. We could also show how people in themselves could be involved in corruption, like you and I on an everyday level. We may not even know. So the good thing is that we might be able to now better identify corruption. We're definitely going to touch on the anti-corrupt bill that just came out. In particular, 3 players in that bill. You don't know. And the whistleblower, from me, that's the important player. And Chev has her 2 important players that she wants to dive into. But let's get into the show, right? We already said what corruption is. We already said what conventional corruption is. Well, let's just start with cronyism.
Cronyism.
Yes, cronyism.
Cronyism. I think cronyism, it's highly related to nepotism. I think people hear nepotism a lot. So most people, by context at least, would know what nepotism is.
Yeah.
Cronyism is basically the same thing, but it has to do with your associates and your colleagues instead of your family. And it basically is just the appointment of friends, family, and associates to position of authority without proper regard for their qualifications. So how that would play out in real life is that you would see that if a particular government is in power, someone who, and this is just an out the example, say that there's a special position for, it has to do with environmental science or something, and then you see someone with a degree in sports management as the director of that group. So because of the person's family, in that case it would be nepotism, or the person's friend, in that case it would be cronyism. Because they have relations in the government, they are placed in positions that they are unqualified for. And that's corruption. I think a lot of people, especially in our current society, there's an expectation that if your party is in power, you're entitled to hold certain positions
Mm-hmm.
because you deserve it, just because it's your party, your family, or your friend, or your support of the party. You deserve to sit in certain positions.
Yeah.
Some people see it as a payment for your campaigning or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
Mm-hmm.
corrupt.
Yeah. And it's normalized. No,
It's
it is.
normalized in
It's
society. Yeah.
normalized. It's at the point where um, you would see certain people on social media. I remember they were picking at, Ike, saying Ike, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you ain't getting a board member, and all these people getting this and that. It's like, oh, with all the work that you did, Ike, you ain't get nothing for all the work that you did. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
how does that work? What does that really look like? What are we really telling people here? Like,
Right. And I don't think people
that makes sense.
understand the implications of something like this, because they might just see it as well, they have to hire somebody any place, is they paying the same salary.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're gonna put somebody who's not qualified, that person will be unproductive.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the country who suffers, because then they're not able to develop that ministry or that department, whatever the position is. They won't be able to operate as best as should be done. So that way the
Correct.
country loses. So
Correct.
it's normalized, but
It's
we shouldn't think
normalized.
that because it's normal, it's right. And there is a cost to it.
Yeah, and it's sad. I remember in our group chat, I saw somebody pointed out that somebody wasn't getting anything. It was something being passed around. Normal SKM politics, the politics that seems like it doesn't get better. And I was like, so wait, this is what we're doing now. We're just gonna act as if it's right for somebody to be appointed a position. You see, it's a like a baiting type system, because what they want is they want Siobhan, right, to campaign for a party. Siobhan now campaign for the party, right? And this is why our politics won't get any better. Siobhan will now campaign for the party. After Siobhan finished campaigning for the party, Siobhan is expected to get a position, right? If Siobhan doesn't get that position, this is what the opposition will now do. Oh, they not take care of their people, right? But guess what happened when Siobhan get the position? Oh,
She only get it because she been a campaign.
you get what I'm saying? And that's the kind of politics we need to kind of start to move away from as a people.
Right.
As a
Right.
people, we need to shun that type of politics and don't give it any light, because it's not good for our society. We might get into it, hopefully we do, but we really want to talk about the effects of corruption and how does that affect the development of the country as a whole, right? One of the most interesting parts in there, we have it, so we're going to get into that, but oh my gosh, it is so evident today. It is so evident today that a lot of the things that we're seeing is by design and the political players. So much that we have a clip that we're going to play as well. Right?
Yes.
We have a clip that we're going to play as well. So yeah, you're right with that one. We definitely.
I think we had the term singing for the supper. I think when
Mouth
we
in
hear
the
people say
trough.
that, they're talking about they're talking about cronyism and nepotism. It's like it's it's corrupt. It's plain and simple. And I think like you said, we have to get away from it, because there's no good coming from it.
Correct.
And I think that's what we need to educate the people on. You see it happening, I think we need people to know it's not right, and it's something that can fall into that. We're in the anti-corruption phase right now in politics. It's something that falls into that bucket that can be reported if need be.
And we have to pay attention here. We're not saying that you being a member of a party or a supporter of a party or a family member of somebody in government mean you should never be hired for any position in government, right? But
Right.
one of the main thing is you should be qualified for that position.
Qualified.
You should be
That's
yeah.
the main point.
You should be
It's the
qualified for that
qualification.
position. Your qualification should match your pay scale. Like how we would complain about not getting paid enough for the money that we made. If you go back to the brain drain conversation that we had about 2 weeks ago, if you didn't catch that one, it was an interesting conversation. But like how we talk about not being paid for your qualifications, being paid for more than what you're qualified. That is I mean, I guess
I'm going to ask you a question. The up,
experience could be.
up
Hold on.
thing, would
Before
you
we get
qualify
into that,
that as us?
I wanna say this too. Experience could be experience could be used here. When
Qualification.
I speak about qualification, I don't speak just about your degree.
Degrees.
Not everybody is afforded the opportunity for tertiary education. It comes at a cost, right? So because you don't have a college degree, that shouldn't hinder you from moving up in a system that you know better than a lot of people. So for the people who work in certain departments for years in, years out, and unfortunately we don't have a way to do merit and see how they are improving and how they contribute to their job, to see who really are key players in certain departments. But there are people who are in departments and with all the skill and knowledge, experience is the best teacher there is. With all the skill and knowledge they have the qualification. They may not have it on paper.
Definitely.
Sadly enough, when they want to keep you back, they use you not having
That's
a
what they
paper
use.
as thing. That is corruption. That is
It
corruption.
is.
Yeah. Holding down somebody just because, finding a way to keep people from elevating, that is corruption. And that is the type of corruption that really needs to be burnt out. It is sad that you have this system of, what you call it, appointed and non-appointed, and that leads to, what do you call it thing when you get money? Because we
Pension.
don't get it anymore. Pension, yeah. I don't even study that word because that's not something that exists for my generation. But because you're not appointed, you don't qualify for a pension.
And a lot of the people who aren't appointed, they've been in the service for sometimes 20 plus years, and they have to retire without a pension because they tell them that they're not qualified to be appointed. So
Yeah.
yes, that definitely is it's cronyism in reverse, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but it's sad too. I'm gonna kind of go on it for a little bit because I know people who's facing that, and a lot of the times what they don't want to do is they don't want to give you back pay. They don't want to have to pay you. So, they hold you down. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, you were asking me something about up.
In my mind, how
That's
it was
crony-
explained by the
Yeah.
person, it is definitely cronyism because she said nothing
Cronyism.
of the qualification. She just spoke of her association to the member in
Yeah.
administration.
Yeah,
Right.
that would be cronyism. And that video was circulating in the public. That's nothing. I do not know the qualifications, but like you said, in the video, the mention was talking about going with a married man, which is also sexual misconduct,
Oh,
right? So there's levels to the corruption if that is the case, right? If there's sexual misconduct, someone using their
position of power.
status, position of power, and giving you something back, whatever it is, you have that. And then if so be the case, if the individual is not qualified for the position, then that's cronyism. If the individual is qualified for the position and they got the job because of certain favors, that's sexual misconduct. At what point are you the victim in that? I don't know.
But the thing with corruption, though, it's not the parties that's really the victim, it's the people, because they are the ones who lose out on having this person appointed who's not qualified, or even if they are qualified, because of the close association to the people in position of power. You can see them as being bought out in the sense that they will act in their favor because of the association, close association in that case, if it's a sexual relationship. And that is why even in the workplace, sexual relationships between management
Co-worker.
and it's frowned upon. And yeah, there are implications of it. So that's something that you have to watch carefully.
Yeah. I mean, for instance, my wife works at Kohl's. I could never work at a Kohl's store that she's the manager of. It's just that simple. You know what I mean? I mean, when you see certain things lining up, you just have to do what you have to do to prevent it from even happening. You know, it's the same thing for the company that I work for. You know, I cannot work underneath my spouse. You know? There's just no matter if my spouse is able to be as fair as possible, as unbiased, you don't want to create an environment.
Exactly.
I find that is some of the things that we don't do. We don't care about those things.
No, I think we are lacking in those, especially St. Kitts and Nevis I can speak of. I'm not sure about the rest of the Caribbean, but I feel like it might be similar. We don't have laws or anything that speak to those kinds of activities. I think it's always been it's common practice, so nothing wrong with it. But I think we need to advance in those areas because, like I said, there are implications to those kinds of behaviors, especially if like it's a situation where husband and wife are both employees of a particular ministry. Who is to say if one person draws up the checks and the other person signs it, that creates an environment where the two of them could collude. And then you have embezzlement and misappropriation of funds. So just to show why these types of, because some people might feel like it's not necessary to go that far as to say that those relationships should be frowned upon, or in a situation where it's a political office, it's corruption. But these are the kinds of scenarios that can exist when it occurs.
Definitely. And I'm going to read some comments that came in. One comment says, some of these things have become the norm, which we said, of many government supporters do not see it wrong. They prefer to play the blame game and say the other party did it. You know, because when it benefits me, I ain't got nothing to say about that, King.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I don't know what you're talking about. Yesterday's price is not today's price. You see? Just believe that yesterday's price is not today's price. So this tit for tat thing that we do in our politics, we have to change it.
We have to get away from it.
I just want to circle back on the sexual misconduct. I had a conversation surrounding that. Not saying that it took place, but saying if it did take place. And I was talking to a cousin of mine, big him up. And he was like, hey, respect to she, if she do what she had to do. And I'm like, you don't see something wrong with that? He's like, nah. It's like, I'm like, this is where society is at now. Right? This is where society is at. We have very little respect for women, to the point now it's like, if she gotta perform for this show to get a job, what's the big deal? She do it. I know she doing better. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, we shouldn't.
But the fact that, you know, it was never addressed or anything like that, it just goes to show you that how common those types of behaviors are. I don't think I didn't even see it okay to
Mm-hmm.
address the situation. I
Yeah,
think in a different society, that could have been something that was blown up to the point where that person would have no longer been qualified to win in the election. But in St. Kitts
definitely.
and Nevis in particular, we tend to brush over those things and leave it as
Definitely,
that.
definitely, definitely. And I'm gonna say it. Ignore the noise. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Ignore the noise.
exactly.
So that and that in itself is like people do not listen to what is being said out. They don't care. Just
Hmm.
ignore the noise. You know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, we have to learn to do better as a society.
Hmm.
And happy, you're not gonna get escape, cause I got one for you too. So we have to learn to do
What are you
better
gonna?
as a society.
Okay.
Yeah, and as a society, we have to want better for ourselves,
Hmm.
and I don't think we do. I mean, me, I want better for us. I think you
Of
do.
course, of
You know,
course,
yeah, I
of
think you do.
course. I think the society as a whole need to get to that point where we tell ourselves it's not about what one individual is getting, or even if me as an individual is benefiting from this whole arrangement. If the country suffers, it's wrong. And like I said, even though I'm benefiting, I should be able to get up and say that it's wrong.
You should.
Oh.
Gigi, big up yourself. You don't need to give someone a position because they campaign for a government. Can't it just be they wanted to see a better government in power? People need to stop look for position because they campaign for a party. And you know what that leads to? It leads to the size of government. The government is too
Yes,
big for for
yes,
for the island, and because the
yes,
government is such a large employer, and what the government really need to do is create more opportunities for jobs so people wouldn't
right,
have to count on them. But you know
right.
what? They love it. They love when people depend on them.
That
Governments,
is true.
a lot of governments love that, because when you have to depend on a government, it's almost like a sure vote.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? That sound like pork barrel to me.
It
But
does.
I don't know if you're ready to touch pork barrel. I know. like,
Let's let's go into bribery because I think that's another big one that a lot of people would be familiar with.
yeah, for sure.
Um,
As bribery.
there's a lot of stuff that fall under bribery. Even
I
when
would,
I was looking at examples of
yeah.
bribery, the I found stuff that in my mind I'm like, well, this could be cronyism or nepotism, not necessarily, but they were like, no, it's bribery because someone offered payment to receive a favor and the person accepted. So
Mm-hmm,
technically, um, it's bribery. And
mm-hmm,
from my research, what I found that if you are looking to get somebody charged and
mm-hmm,
convicted for corruption or misconduct,
mm-hmm.
bribery seems to be it.
The
A lot of
easiest
the
one.
conviction, yeah, a lot of the convictions that I'm seeing, it's
Mm.
bribery.
Okay, let me talk about bribery. Bribery and lobbying. Lobbyists.
Yes,
They kind of hand in hand. Lobbying is the one that we don't frown upon as much. That's the one
yeah,
that you hear
it's
them talk
legal.
about. The lobbyists, okay.
Mm-hmm,
Oh yes, the lobbyists.
mm-hmm.
But bribery of. We had a
Okay.
case. Oh, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You sound like you had
I was
something
gonna
to say.
I was gonna give the definition. It's the offering, giving, or receiving anything of value with the intention of inducing a person to act or to reward a person for having acted. So it's
Mm.
you're paying somebody or you're offering to pay somebody to do something or because they did something for you.
Reward, payment, reward, whatever. It is
Mm-hmm.
what it is. How can we look at this one? Many we have many examples. Some might be
Mm-hmm.
hypothetical, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but we could start with one case. I don't know. Fingers started pointing. I kind of don't want to start with this case, but I will, because this is going to go into election fraud, which is something that I want to talk about. But the case of the picture, the lady that took the picture, the lady that had the picture in her phone, and up to this day, it's oh, it was NRP, oh, it was CCM, oh, it was NRP, oh, it was CCM. You know,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
But she not been know what she was supposed to do, right? She what she needed to do was she needed to have proof of who, because in the real world, right, that person that's in a higher position would be the bigger fish to fry. But like
Exactly.
this, but like the great Matt Bradley say, we've danced this dance already. This is a dance we dance all the time. Nothing can
Yes.
become of it. But in the real world now, you know, that would have been her insurance.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
some sort of bribery
it's
took place there.
exactly, and it's the fact that she would have received payment for the act.
Mhm.
The act is the reward is the payment that she would have received, and the act is to vote in whomever party's favor.
Mhm.
And like you said, that one goes into election fraud, which is a huge topic that that by itself could be its own show,
A night.
to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when we see that um our politicians are well, in this case it wasn't the politician, it was the individual who took the picture. But
Yeah.
when you see that your politicians can be bought or can be paid for, it's a dangerous game, because
Very.
then at that point you leave them open to be bought by not only businessmen who might want a
Mhm.
little favor for the company that they work in or anything, but then it gets to criminals who are buying them to protect themselves from being convicted of crime.
They're all
And
criminals. You see, that's what we
that
need
is
to
true.
start looking at them. Like when you start to
That
deal
is
with this
true.
kind of thing, everybody here is criminal. It's not, yeah, the drug dealer would start laundering money through them, which is one of the effects of um, corruption. But they're all
Exactly.
criminals. You're committing a crime. That's
Right.
no bribery is a crime, and if you're committing it, you're a criminal. You're not
Right.
convicted criminal, but you're a criminal. But go ahead. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's fine. But
Yeah.
the point I was trying to make is that some people see instances like that and they feel like that's a small matter, because
Mm-hmm.
either the dollar value is small, or they
Mm-hmm.
feel like the situation is one that it's fine. But like I said, where does it stop? If you start offering people or paying people for
Mm-hmm.
small things, after a while it gets bigger and bigger, and then at what point do we tell ourselves that it's too much? You look at Jamaica and
Never.
Haiti, and you see where you have the top dogs, top boys.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, they're able to operate in their capacities because they have politicians, or if not politicians, they have people in the police force who they have bribed. So they are able to operate freely in the country
Mm-hmm.
without having to pay any consequences. So that's I think it's a huge one.
Bribery. Bribery is definitely a huge one. I'm not gonna laugh, but I'm gonna top some hypothetical scenarios now.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what you think about these scenarios. Scenario one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have buildings, and I want my buildings to be occupied. Currently, they're not.
Mm-hmm.
So, in order for me to get my building occupied, I am going to become a lobbyist, because that's the term that we are going to use here.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to give you money, but with an understanding that I am going to help you finance your campaign. If you, in return, once you get into power, you rent my building. Am I doing something wrong here?
Of
Or is
course.
it Is something wrong? Okay.
Of course.
That's something wrong.
Of
Okay.
course. that is corruption. I like, again, I think that scenario is one of those situations. It is so common.
Yeah.
People don't recognize it for what it is, and that is corruption.
Correct.
And again, it's that situation where we are not seeing that because you know someone in parliament or who's running for an election, you can't contribute to them if you have this situation where you can benefit. But in the case where I am deciding to choose to rent space in your building without looking at the fact that there might be 3 or 4 other buildings in the same vicinity that could be cheaper or better quality, I'm disregarding all of that and saying I am going to rent space from you because
Thank
you
you.
have agreed to participate in and fund my campaign. That is corruption.
Okay. I'm more than certain that goes on. I'm more than
Yeah,
certain that goes on.
positively.
Maybe we want to act as if it doesn't. I can remember hearing someone say, "Oh no. Let me tell you, they don't take money from the treasury." And I had to break it down like, no, but what about real estate?
Mhm.
The money, like, so let's go back again. Corruption is one of the hardest things for you. Like you mentioned, bribery would be it. But the reason why bribery would be it, corruption is one of the hardest things to pin somebody on. For
It's
one,
hard to prove.
they know what they're doing something wrong, so they're gonna find a way around it. They're gonna make it look as legitimate as possible. They're not gonna be doing it in the open, and even if they're doing it in the open, there have to be some sort of acceptance to it, right?
Mhm.
So it's not gonna be direct. There's no government that's just gonna go in and see $1 million in the treasury and then just take $1 million from the treasury. The way how governments are going, the way how they're gonna do that is they're gonna fund projects. And these projects are going to go on for a very, very, very long time, extremely long time. Overrun budget, no real explanation of where the money is going. So these are the kind of things that we have to start to look at, right? In the country that you
Right.
live in, do you have any projects that have been going on for a period of time that is longer than what was supposed that it was supposed to be, much longer? And also, how clear and transparent is the budget and the expenditures towards this project? We have to remember the money that is being spent is the money of the people, the purse of the public. So the public should have a right to see any kind of project in any scenario and see where the money is going.
You're right.
Corruption, though, with corruption, you tend to have very little transparency. And because you have very little transparency, that is one of the reasons why I am not going to say any building or any project in the place. Who want to use whatever they want to use, they could use it. But I'm saying you just look at any of these projects. Look at
Right.
the budget. Is the budget being blown? Some, in construction, you have a budget. If you start to, when you're doing, construction better than I do, of course, right?
Yes.
Yes. So when you get into construction and I'm spending money, one of the things I want to do is ensure that, especially if I'm taking a loan, is that the money that you tell me to take for the loan, the money that I'm about to spend is going to cover the project. It is your incentive as the builder to get it done on the budget and keep the rest. However you do it, I don't know. Because I ain't getting it back. That's the contract. But
Exactly.
it is my incentive for me as the person who is trying to get this project done. Once you start to go over budget, somebody else have to pay for it. Not me. Now, it is strange to me when governments have projects going on, and there's clear faults, there's clear delays, yet still no one is being held accountable. So
There's
when you
no
start to
accountability.
exactly when you start to look at those kind of things, if you could identify anything like that in your space, tell yourself some sort of corruption is probably going on.
It's
So
possible.
yeah.
And if you need an example, in actually last month in the Bahamas, the former youth and sports minister, her name is Lanisha Roll. She would have been charged
Yeah.
for bribery, and it's a similar situation, and it has to do with the procurement of contracts. So and the dollar amounts in these cases, in my opinion, they weren't extremely large. I think some of the contracts, they range from tens of thousands to maybe a little over $200,000.
Yeah.
Those were the size of the contracts. But they found that one, the contracts weren't properly procured, and two, some of them were to associates of the minister, and she was criminally charged. I want the people of Nevis to hear that. The
Oh wow.
Minister of Youth and Sports in Bahamas, she would have awarded contracts as the minister in charge of I forget what the project was, a particular project in her ministry, and she awarded the contracts to her associates. I think one of them was her husband, one was her father-in-law, and she is charged, likely to be convicted. She is the second minister in that cabinet who I think had charges of bribery brought against them for what seems to be a similar situation. So these are actions that, like I said, there can be criminal implications.
Yeah. It's time for
Nevis,
us to
I
do the
think the people
dance.
of Nevis to see that other countries are taking this thing seriously, and we are past the point where we just talk about it and nothing is done. I think as a global society, everyone is talking anti-corruption right now. It's not just St. Kitts Nevis, it's not just the Caribbean. Everybody is talking anti-corruption. We are at the point where these things can be charged. It's left to be seen if it will be convicted. A lot of the instances that people are charged, sometimes convictions don't follow. But I think, and we'll talk about it later, with certain things being put in place with the anti-corruption bill, it will make it easier for citizens to be able to report these things and have something done about it.
If you take money for one thing, the money is designated for one thing, but you use that money, and I'm talking about public purse, but you use it for something else. What is that?
The thing is that is allowed. I think when the
We're gonna call it
budget is
allowed.
when the budget is put forward,
Yeah.
all of the capital projects are specified, and the budgeted spending amounts, they are there for each project. But I'm not sure what the process is to have the funds transferred. If there
Okay,
is
wait, hold
one
on. I understand what you're saying. Okay, that's fine. Public project to public project. I'm talking about public project to private project. I'm talking about I get money. Okay, let's say for instance, right? Let's say for instance, I got money for maybe an office or something. You know, kind of office. But I got money for office. I got a little thing from the side I do. So I say, okay, I can deal with this office, but I put my office in there too. Is that cool? I could do that?
No.
I can't do that? Okay.
No.
I hope nothing like that goes on in the place. That's all I'm going to say.
You're very you talk about a lot of subliminals tonight, and I think our audience, they're very smart. I think they're catching all of them.
What's subliminals? No, these are all hypothetical, okay, people?
Hypothetical
People, these are
situation.
hypothetical. Back to the building scenario. So what would you call a case where your workers are coming down with illnesses? And it's you can't really explain it, but the building is now considered a public a health problem, and you refuse to remove the workers from the building. And
Because of who you're paying the rent to.
yeah,
hmm
yeah, them kind of things. You know, these
So
that
that it's
hypothetical
corruption in
again.
the highest. Yeah, it's very, very much corruption, and it's also bad mind
Hmm.
because you're putting people at that point. You have direct victims.
Yeah.
People who are suffering directly from
Hmm.
your choice to be corrupt.
Wow. Well, these things can't. But I don't know. These things probably don't happen someplace in the world. I don't know. Maybe India. I think they're getting better over there. I wouldn't think these things happen in St. Kitts and Nevis. Definitely not Nevis for sure. Definitely, we don't have any projects that go on for a long time. We don't have any buildings that are deemed a health situation, and nobody. It took a very long time for it to be addressed. We don't have any case of any offices or anything of the sort. We don't have those things. So I'm happy to live. I have come from a country without these kind of issues. That's all I'm going
Oh,
to say.
okay.
I don't know why
Okay.
you're smiling like that. Big up Orange team tonight. I don't think Siobhan was ready for this conversation. I think I caught her off guard, especially, especially, especially in all these hypotheticals. Because when we start talking about corruption, I have to start thinking about scenarios of what is it? Because I like to think that I'm a critical thinker. I like to think that once I'm reading something, I could then think of a scenario or a situation that would fall into that line so that I could truly understand what I'm reading, what I'm trying to learn. So bribery. I remember one time, it's no secret, I come from a prominent NRP family. And I used to dibble dabble with NRP, their campaign, right? So I would be behind them, and I would support them. I was a supporter of the NRP a lot, And one election, a friend of mine called me and he said, "Boy, the elector, me now, if they want me vote, must bring some money, come." I just hang up my phone.
You're right.
I just hang up my phone, because I'm like, first of all, I can't deal with these kind of things. You see what I'm saying? Like, but that's the norm. You have young men, young women, people who are suffering, because a lot. If people are economically sound, they won't be looking out for these handouts.
Right. You could never buy a vote from me in
Yeah.
that situation, but I could understand when it's a situation where when I go to the grocery store, I can't get what I want because things tight.
Yeah.
And then you come to me and say, you know what, I'll give you $1,500, because those are the kind of numbers that I've been hearing recently. $1,500 and stuff for a vote.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in that situation, especially if you have obligations that you can't pay your rent, your children need this, your
Mortgage,
children need that.
rent, could pay on a bill,
Right.
It can be
Right.
hard.
It's hard to resist.
It can be hard.
But I think people need to see that when you participate in that, you're participating in corruption.
Yeah.
And I don't think people see the cost of that particular type of corruption. I mean, how I see it is that if you're going to accept payment for a vote
Right.
over the next 5 years, if
Yeah.
the government that you accepted payment from, if they choose to burn down your house and kill your family, you can't say anything because you were part of what the corrupt acts that happened to put them in power. I mean, some people say, oh, take the money and vote for who you want. I think it is still participating in it because really and truly, the chances are, even if the money didn't come directly from the treasury, we talked about situations before where contracts are awarded to political associates and they are paid. Those associates usually contribute back to campaigning, right? So even if it's not directly coming from the treasury, nobody from treasury wrote you a check, you're spending the people's money. You accepted the public's money, and that's money that could have gone towards infrastructure development, education development, and so many other things. So personally, that's one of the things that really, really, really rubs me the wrong way. I hate to think that people have to get to the level of where they are. Like people have to fight for suffrage, you know? People had to fight for suffrage, and we're now at the point where you're accepting payment for it. And then especially in a situation where most people are crying that, you know, the country, there are issues with the current government. I can't roll with it.
Yeah. I mean, they don't forget, especially when the money come back around again. But
Exactly.
I started out by saying if people are not economically sound, you're gonna have these issues. So what does this sort of corruption lead to? A never-ending cycle. It leads to a cycle of dependency because the government the politicians know. Let me not say the government because they might think that I'm talking about the government. So the politicians know that if you keep these people here, they're going to be dependent, and you're always going to be able to buy that that crucial thing called a vote. You know what I mean? That crucial thing called a vote.
I would say money to go up.
More? Jeez. And then they can say it too loud. All right, big up. Thanks for the heads up. Just let me know if it gets better or let me know if it gets worse once I turn it up.
Shante Brooks says it's not only money is given for the votes. Bribes come in many ways. For example, contracts, jobs, appliances, houses, and such. And I did hear about those, you know. And I think, now that I look back, as a child, I don't think I realized what was going on. But now when I look back at certain things that were happening back in the day, I remember seeing trucks rolling through with fridges and stuff around election time.
What?
Yeah.
And wild and so? People like get wild and thing?
No, we could talk about that later when we talk about pork barreling. Okay.
Oh, you could hear me now? I just want to know if I could hear me now. Is it any better? I mean, I could talk a little louder, but I don't want to talk a little louder. So so when you take the money, just tell yourself next year you're going to be poor. The year after that, you're going to be poor. Because one thing they lose is respect for you as a voter. The politician has no respect for you as a voter after that. Zero. They don't respect you to even to even approach you with something like that. They have no respect for you. I look in the comments right now and I see so many people saying, oh, how come nobody ever approached me? And them kind of things. And for one, you probably swing too hard on one side. So the people who you're on vote for don't know they got your vote. And secondly, the other party ain't gonna risk it. And then maybe they just got a certain level of respect for you as an individual, knowing that your vote cannot be bought. So I think it's something that you could tap yourself on the shoulder and say, no politician ever offer me any money or vote for them. You know what I mean? That's respect.
You have integrity. Yep.
That's respect. You can't be bought. I've never been offered money. Never. You see what I'm saying? Never have I been offered money for my vote or for me to speak or anything. I've never been. And I'm glad that they have that level of respect for me. That they know, like, yo, this man have integrity. I can't approach this man with this kind of thing. Now, where do you want to put yourself? And I understand your situation is hard. in a lot of the cases.
The money gonna finish by next month. The money
That's
gonna be
what.
finished, and then the same situations that you were crying about before they came and offered you the $1,500 or $200 or $500, those situations will still exist because you
Look at.
still are left with a government who is not about creating jobs or who is not
Mhm.
about providing opportunities for you. So when the money is done, and it will finish, and sometimes it will finish very quickly. When the
Yeah.
money is done, the situations are still there.
Hot. Yeah, hearty. At least ask for a job then. Sheesh.
Mm.
I
But
do not.
we just talk about that.
I do not condone any form of bribery. But if you can do it, at least ask who continuous payment and not a one-time payout. Cause them I get that. Them I get what, 5-month contract, 5-year
Mhm.
contract.
5
You know what I mean?
years.
They give me a 5-year contract too. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Nah, man, no. But see, on a serious note, no, we really need to we need to get away from those kind of things.
When they come and ask you what you want for the vote, tell them what projects you want to see. Tell them what infrastructure you want to see develop. Tell them what corrupt practices you want them to stop doing. Those are the kind of things we should be asking for instead
Mhm.
of a small one-time payment.
Yeah, you know, real economic change. You want me to vote for you? Let me hear your plans.
Mm-hmm.
When I start to bite the tongue, tell them I can't vote for you.
Like simple.
When I say this is the plan, you need to be able to ask them, well, how you plan to achieve this? Because that sounds like a brilliant idea. But we know what a pie in the sky looks like, a pipe dream. So how do you plan to achieve this? What are the tax implications? Any? Because this won't fund itself. Are you looking at the deficit? Do we care? Are we a developing nation, so we're expected to take on debt? Is it good debt, bad debt? You know, here in the United States, we drive on toll roads. I don't know if you drive on toll roads in Texas, but here in Florida, we definitely
avoid
drive on
them.
toll roads. The toll roads are, you know, you drive on the toll road, you see a little sign that says your money in at work for you, your tolls at work for you. So you know you're driving on this toll road. I think Alan on the topics, tuning to the topics tomorrow night, would have talked about the imaginary road from the south side highway. I can call it imaginary.
Why? It's one of the projects that I'm hoping actually happens.
Yeah.
So
It would happen a lot faster if certain politicians got property over in them parts there and they need access.
oof.
You see what I'm saying? So maybe there's that incentive. I don't know. But it's an imaginary road at this point.
At this point.
You know, something like that might need a toll because to build that project now, it's going to cost taxpayers money. And we already done. We already know what kind of money the government done all. So, we want we just hit
$525 million.
almost $1 billion. Well, not almost. Let's just say half.
Half.
I feel like almost because in maths they tell you once you pass 5, you go run up. Because more than likely it's up you're going. Up. Right? Up. I want to touch on something. People are not, you know, like, I don't know. Nobody can like this because you can hit both parties. I am totally against the idea of a politician holding 2 seats. I am totally against of a division politician, right, being in government and still being in government in Sinkets. Totally against
I'm
that.
opposed to it as well.
I think, though legal, it is a form of corruption. Corruption could be you saying that you're being paid for something that you're supposed to be doing, and you know you're not doing it.
Yeah.
So,
up here it's employment fraud.
Mm-hmm.
And we have people participating in it now because of remote work. You see
Yeah.
people have 2 jobs at the same time, and you're
Man, I
getting
said,
paid. You're getting paid by different people for the same hours of the day.
see, I was.
There's
Yeah.
you can't work for 2 companies at the same time.
They can,
And
they can tighten up the laws. That's what they can do.
yeah, they
Mm-hmm.
they need to. They need
Mm-hmm.
to. So, but I was just trying to say, if in the private sector it could be so quickly frowned upon, why not in the public sector? I know that there are people who got in trouble because they had part-time jobs at the Four Seasons, and they also
Mm-hmm.
had jobs in the civil service, and sometimes they would leave the civil service early to get to Four Seasons on time to work. So
Mm-hmm.
if we are saying that is wrong, right? How can we take up the public funds and then pay for twice for someone to do 2 duties?
I don't know. I don't know. And I don't know if anybody who does go to the press conference. It's late now. It doesn't matter now. But in the Mark Brantley interview, one of the questions that I feel like I wanted to ask, and I only remembered it after, was when Mark Brantley travels as Minister of Foreign Affairs, is he traveling as the Premier of Nevis? So does that mean he gets traveling expenses and all the other stuffs
That's a
for
very good
the
question.
thing? And I was like, God damn, I'm never gonna get to ask this man this question ever in life again, because I know he not come
He ain't
back,
coming back.
right?
He ain't coming back.
it's like oh man. But if somebody could ask that question, at the press conference, I just would like to know if, like, when he was traveling as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, or traveling as the Minister of the Premier, if he used to get from the other,
Both
like,
allowances.
yeah, both allowances. You know what I mean?
But okay, hear this now. If he went as the foreign minister
Mm-hmm.
on a trip for St. Kitts Nevis, the Federation,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
while he's there, he went and said, okay, he went and he approached an investor out there and said, okay, I'm acting as the foreign minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, but really and truly, I got a project I want you to come to with for Nevis. We ain't gonna tell the St. Kitts people them about it right now
Wow.
until it comes true. I'm not saying it happened,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying you see how it creates
Yeah.
a situation for that to happen,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that
yeah.
of course would be fraud.
That's fraud. That's fraud. That would be fraud. Not saying that it happened. Eh? We are saying that we're not saying that happened. Okay. We're just using that as an
As an
example of
example,
you do not want to create the environment for certain things to
exactly,
happen. Good. We're
exactly.
just so happy that Mark Brantley is the upstanding person that he is, that he would never do something like that, right? But Mr. Premier, you don't want somebody else to get that chance. So I'm asking you to make it right. You know, I'm asking you to close that gap now.
Mhm.
You know, like, yeah, it's been done in the past. You've done it. But honestly, if I was working for Daniel and Brantley and Association, and I was the IT professional at Daniel and Brantley and Association, I'm supposed to be there for 8 hours. Don't
Mhm.
expect me to be at National Bank, working at National Bank too, at the same hours there
Exactly,
and collecting both pays. We're going to pull it in the
exactly.
private world, because if we cannot understand it in the public world, we have to pull it in the private world. And it's time for us to
And
get serious about business.
exactly, especially in a situation where you could double deal because you have to act. There would be situations where you can't act in the interest of both at the
Mm-hmm.
same time. You're
No,
securing a deal for St. Kitts and Nevis. If that deal, as presented, were to operate in St. Kitts instead of Nevis, the people of Nevis are missing out on that. You know, if vice versa, if you go and
yeah.
you pursue a project on whoever's time and you bring it back to Nevis, the people of St. Kitts have a right to question if that is something that could have come to St. Kitts instead.
And you know
So,
what? You know what else I want to talk about?
mhm.
the structure of our government. And I know, like, people are gonna be like, "Oh, you gotta be crazy," but there is nowhere that St. Kitts is supposed to be using the federal government as its local government. When you have the Minister of Education in St. Kitts and a Minister of Education in Nevis, so when the Minister of Education get federal funds, how does that funnel off? You get what I'm saying? I'm just using the Minister of Education as an example. I'm saying it's high time that we revisit our constitution and realize St. Kitts needs its own local government.
They do.
Nevis needs its own local government. And if we have a federal government, it has to have a representative of Nevis and St. Kitts at all times. There should never be a federal government without representation of everybody.
Exactly.
Case in point, Senator, you have a representative from, you have bi-party representation in the Senate and in Congress, right? So in the House and in Congress, you have bi-party representation. We do not need the party politics for the federal level. What we need is representation on the federal level. What we need is somebody who running a Nevis seat. Once you win, you're gone to the federal government. But we don't need a local person holding that seat as well. Like when I say local person, I mean a minister in Nevis government. Yeah, a local parliamentarian then wanting to be a federal parliamentarian. Yeah, it might cost the taxpayers more money, but it is what fear looks like.
And it's the only way to get best representation for the people.
Yeah. So I am going to go on the end and say there should probably is some form of corruption there. Because now you have a federal government representing people with the interest of only one island. The interest of only one island. It just so matter that the Prime Minister, everybody should be voting for the Prime Minister. Because Dr. Drew didn't visit one Nevis media house during his run for Prime Minister. And you know why? Because why? They're not going to put you in a power. But if you're running for Prime Minister, we should be able to vote for whoever getting in as Prime Minister.
Definitely.
There's just certain systems that work better when it comes to fairness. I don't know if that thing, there's some sort of corruption going on there. I don't know what it's called. But I just feel like that is something that politicians need to start looking at. And they need to change it. Because you cannot be a if you know you're supposed to be representing agriculture on a federal level, whatever money, whatever projects you do, why is it that you don't see any agriculture? Oh, because Nevis got your own agriculture. And I guess that's just how it works. But nothing could come from outside unless it go through them. Anyway, back to the original conversation, right?
I even forgot where we were.
No, we were at bribery. We were talking about bribery. Bribery has been going on for a very long time.
A very long time.
Yeah, bribery.
We want to talk about lobbying, which is the legal. To me, it's just legal bribery.
Legal bribery. So imagine, for instance, you have somebody supporting your party and they say, I'm going to give you money. But if I give you money, right, you go give me wife a position.
Sometimes it's not even that. It's when this law comes up, you have to vote this way. Because sometimes the lobbyists, they're not looking for positions. Or if it's positions, it might be a big one, like an ambassadorial position where they could make big moves. You know, when it comes to the lobbyists, they are looking for control. Basically, it's not just getting something like a physical thing or anything like that. They want control. They want people to control the laws and
Yeah.
the procedures and everything.
Yep. So some industry, for instance, like marijuana, new industry. And you know, you got some big ballers out there excited about a young industry. You know, they would probably lobby to make sure that when you draft in the laws, because we don't change laws in St. Kitts and Nevis, eh? What Chevron is talking about is here in the United States of America. There's also this thing called political engineering, where companies would actually look at areas where they might be able to buy some influence, and they would buy a company, like a larger company would buy a smaller company, just so that they could tell the senator or the congressman, yo, I'm going to bring some jobs in your part and I'm going to open a firm, but you got to vote this way. Here, because here they update laws, but in St. Kitts and Nevis, they don't do that. No, that ain't a thing. So, but they might create a new law. You know, they might create a anti-corruption law, and you might get confused when you read the anti-corruption law, because one version of the law might say government includes the federal government and Nevis Island Assembly and Nevis Island Administration. But then you read another version of it, and then it says government meaning the federal government and does not include. So you're confused. Which one is it? And then the reason why you're going to ask this question is because you want. Oh my gosh. Was there some sort of lobbying going on there? You know,
Could be, you'll never know.
I got seats. Seats are always valuable. Take me out of the equation and I give you a seat if you need it. If you need it, they're always valuable. These are the kind of things we have to look at, right? These are the kind of topics that nobody really want to even pay attention to. These are the kind of
They don't
topics that
want to
get
talk
low
about it.
numbers and so no drama in this. No drama, you know. You're not here about nobody take nobody man. You're not here about nobody, you know, nobody talk. You know, this is but this is the thing. We have an anti-corruption bill. What I haven't heard surrounding that anti-corruption bill is how are we going to educate society on what corruption is? What
Right.
kind of conversation are we going to have on the people to let them know that they have a part to play in this? I don't think. Are we ready to go into the anti-corruption bill and the players of the anti-corruption bill?
The one thing I want to touch before is pork barreling, because I think that is one that the
Okay, go ahead.
people might observe and then they wouldn't know there's a name for it, or they wouldn't know how it plays out. So we're going to touch this one very quickly. Pork
Yeah.
barreling is the using of government funds for projects designed to please voters or legislators and win votes. So this one is kind of tricky because it's actually a government project,
Yeah.
but the intention of it's to win votes. So I think that one is definitely hard to prove. I think
Yeah.
many people might have opinions on projects like these and think it's pork barreling. For me, how
Yeah.
the ones that I could look at and say, okay, this is definitely pork barreling,
Yeah.
it's when it starts right before an election, and
Yeah.
then after an election it stops, or it takes place
Them things don't happen.
in a what do you mean it don't happen? It takes place in a community that is usually neglected. When you see a community that is usually neglected, and then every election things active, we have this project, we have that project, all of a sudden you see people who were previously unemployed have jobs, part-time jobs. It could
Wow.
be cleaning roads or things like that. They get a lot of those jobs. The need for those jobs arise immediately before, and maybe a little bit after the election, and then after that there's nothing. To me, that's a clear indication that pork barreling is happening.
Okay. Critical thinking. What? We don't have any of those scenarios, right? I mean, Overback Road done, right?
The
over
road
about
is not the road is not finished, but there are many people who have walls.
walls. You mean like Trump wall? Got to indict Trump, you know?
He was indicted, yes. He was
Yeah.
indicted, yes. These are
Okay.
different types of walls, but to me, in my humble opinion,
hmm
based on what the definition of pork barreling is,
You don't have to say so. I can say so for you. That is as you're but you don't say so. That would look like what you know. Okay, all of a sudden now, election will come. Overbat has been neglected for years, as we've heard. Okay, years and years and years, like years. But you know, election coming up. You think Bat is a stronghold? Yeah, Bat is a CCM stronghold. You think CCM needs Bat to win St. John? I would say in
yes.
the last election, definitely they needed Bat to win St. John's. They needed Bat Village to come through for them.
Mhm.
So what you do? You can't go into an election and Bat Village not get nothing. When Brownhill don't get, Hanley's Road don't get, Hamilton been get them little patch up. All these other places get their little touch up, and Bat Village don't get none. Why is it that this thing always wanna crash? Right? All these places get their little touch up. So with that said,
Just to say, Bad Village, I think, might be the only road project that has been active for 2 local elections.
2 local elections, 10 years? What the so?
But not 10 years. The last one and this past
Oh,
one,
okay.
probably the past one was, yeah. But
Yeah, okay, okay.
Bad Village would have been an active project, I think, for both of them.
And I guess a nice wall, though. I guess some
Some
nice
people,
walls. Yeah,
yeah.
get some nice walls.
And
But you
the
know, they had
reason
to
why
build
this
the
would
wall,
be
though.
right, the reason why this would be pork barreling as opposed to any of the other ones that we talked about is because actual government funds are used, because it's an actual government project. And I don't think anybody is
Mm,
knocking the infrastructure, because Bath Village really needs
they
that
need it. They need it. They need it.
infrastructure. It
They
is
need it. They need it.
very much
It's the
needed.
timing. It's the timing.
Exactly.
It's the timing.
Exactly. And
It's the
I
timing.
feel like if it was anything other than pork
Geothermal.
barreling, it would have already been completed.
Geothermal. Hot topic right now. Hot topics. Big up the hot topics. Hot topics chat. If you're not a part of the hot topics chat group, you want to be a part of the hot topics chat group. I'm not even asking anymore. I'm just telling you want to be a part of it. So just look out and join it. But yeah, geothermal. Hot topic. Every
Somebody
election.
say it's a whole hog over there, not pork barreling. Tarian says customs is corrupt. Hi, Tarian.
Yeah, man. Customs is definitely corrupt. Tarian, I love my customer officers. Oh, you mean? Yeah, you wouldn't make me say that. Customs officer, I do not agree with Tarian Perkins. No, man. I've heard of some practices of customs. Some of the things they do. It's not. But yeah, pork barrel, eh? So geothermal would definitely be that. I don't care what nobody tell me.
I would assume so, because money is spent, and money
Indeed.
is spent with the intention of influencing votes for an election.
Yeah. And then after that, you hear nothing.
You don't hear anything about it.
You hear nothing about it. You know, they might
That
take
one
the
has
loan
been
and
going
put it
on
on
for
into
how
something
long?
else.
Since you were in high school, Ira, that one is going on.
Second farm is when I first heard about that. If anybody want to know how old I am, I'm 35 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not yet, but soon. I don't know about Siobhan be. I mean, she might be a year or two younger than me, so you know, she definitely look it. But I would say, I think we have clear examples of that.
Mm-hmm.
Projects being left to the back burner. And it goes from when I did a political science course, and they let you know. Voters have short-term memory. This is here in the US, eh? So
Yes.
expect the projects to be done in the latter part, because politicians really have one job, one single job. It's to get re-elected. That is their
Exactly.
job, right?
Hmm.
So the port barrel thing, if they would do it and complete the project, it's not a big deal.
Nothing is wrong with that.
Yeah. But if they can just do it to get your vote, and then okay, election done, next thing, and then come back to revisit it after, then that's where the problem coming.
And they're definitely playing on the short memory. They just have to do it
Hmm.
the year before election and a little bit afterwards. So basically,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
year and a few months. That's the only time they have to be active
yeah.
to influence the vote, because, like you said, the voters have the benefit of the short-term memory of voters.
You think so? Geothermal still a go on? But
So I I
mhm,
I watched a virtual session that they had the end of last year, talking about all the things that would need to be done to
mhm,
facilitate the drilling that they are supposed to do. And based on the lack of activity in those areas, I do not think that it is going to start anytime soon. It was supposed to
mm,
start in January, I think we were supposed to start seeing activity. And I
mm,
think drilling they had to start in January so we could see drilling in June. We are in April, and none of the activities that they mentioned have been done. The activities that I'm talking about is they were supposed to build a new road to facilitate the
okay.
trucks driving up to the site, and then they were supposed to
Mm,
drill um, two wells, or one or two wells, for because the site the drilling needs a lot of water. So
mhm,
in order to not disrupt the local supply of water, they were supposed to drill a well that
mhm.
would provide water specifically to the project, and then when the project is finished, it would go towards the public consumption. I haven't seen or heard of any of those activities happening, so based on that, I would say that it's not, I don't think it's a summer 2023 thing again.
Oh man, I was looking forward to the new road going up Hamilton, but I wouldn't encourage them to build a proper road. You know, maybe just something, because once the trucks them get on the road, they can rip it up.
It's done.
Yeah, so
It's
might
done.
as well just put something that's better than what's there, even if they dig up what's there and put some sort of material and not maybe fully finish it. Just let the trucks go up and down that, and then when they're done, then they really do the road. Especially,
The
I
issue
don't
with
know.
the existing road was because it was widening and then the width. Imagine a lot of
Mm,
trucks, and that the population that road is used a lot. There's a lot of traffic. So with the
yeah,
winding of the roads, the trucks with the material,
yeah, yeah.
they thought it was going to be a hazard. So
So they're gonna want to cut straight through or something rather than
they were
winding. I
going to
don't know.
cut a road, right,
Yeah.
that goes
Okay. Yeah.
straight up to this a different road for the trucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Makes
Yeah. No, no. You,
sense. I just wish it would
yeah.
happen.
Yeah. I wish it not happen in front of me yard, to be honest. A
Mm.
lot of traffic, but
No, I don't think it's in that area.
okay. Um,
Okay.
Port barreling. That one
Hmm.
is. That's it. I think we touch on that.
Yeah, we
I
touched
don't
that.
know if anybody know any examples other than the two. Um, we have short-term memory, so I can't remember from NRP time if they do anything like that. But then I get back in, so
Hmm.
then I get to finish. What's next? Water fraud. Water fraud. My viewers are not going to like to hear this one, boy, but NRP was technically convicted of voter fraud in the
There was no
disenfranchisement of.
conviction.
Okay, it
There was
wasn't a
no
conviction.
conviction.
What was it called? What they call it? Because they had to pull back a whole election, null and void. That's all I can remember. Null and void. Do it again. Disenfranchisement, stopping people from voting, that is fraud. That happens here. That probably happens still to this day. But they had to
Some
deal with
people do
that.
call it a convention, but They did.
It's it's not a conviction. They went to court.
I guess
There was a
so.
judgment. It wasn't a criminal case.
It wasn't.
Yeah, the court agreed that the persons weren't registered where they lived.
Right. I think in my mind, that's why
Mhm.
I find it hard. It wasn't that the people, in my mind, they weren't disenfranchised because they really
Okay.
didn't vote where they lived. It's
Okay.
just that the procedure to have them removed was not followed.
Which is fraud. Excuse me. Sorry about that, viewers. Had a little gas. Didn't really eat much today. It would be fraud. The people themselves were committing fraud. Let's just put that out there,
Yes. Yes.
right? That is a part of voter fraud too. Voter fraud is you knowingly voting in some other constituency that you not got no ties to.
No business voting there. You don't
No
live there. You
business
never
voting
lived
in there.
there. Your mother never lived there. Nothing.
Ballot stuffing, a part of ballot stuffing in some cases, right? I mean, they stuff
Allegations of
ballots in
ballot
other way
stuffing.
too, but they actually put actual ballot votes in this and stuff the thing. That is why I don't understand how come we not had the case, but it's a technicality anyway. Technicality run the world.
Technicality.
Yeah. So they were committing fraud. But the judge said, you're fraud, all right, man. Okay. But these people should have done due process and ensured that you got your notification that said, sir, you're committing fraud and you need to rectify it. Otherwise, you are knowingly committing fraud and you're admitting that you're knowingly committing fraud. And because of that, you will be removed if you don't think. But the people that said they said they're get a mail. I don't know how we can get. I don't understand how that hold up in court. For one, there is, let's say, for instance, the mail was in the mailbox, because you cannot say you delivered it to resident A, B, or C, because we don't have house numbers and streets and these kind of things. So the post officer have to deliver it now. It's like a is it a subpoena that it have to be delivered, and you have to notice that you were served. You know what I mean? Is that the case? You will be served. But then again, I don't know what really took place, because the people them knew when their names were removed. So I don't know if they came to vote and they weren't able to vote and they found out, if it was all a part of the plot. Okay, act like you don't get the thing. I don't know. I won't go down them lines there. All I know is that NRP had win a government. They went to court. The judge said, no. Get out of here. Null and void. You got to do this one over. You have to do this one over.
And then they turned around and they lost just because.
That's fraud.
Losing a case like that, the implications of it in society. Oh my gosh, they took a case to court and they lost. Got to be some funky business was going on. So even there was a technicality in the court of public opinion. The only thing that they saw was fraud, and it played out in the following elections.
Yeah. It definitely played out, and that was the hot topic. Big up hot topics all the time. That was the hot topic. So that was like, I could remember hearing people, and that's why they were, because at that point in time I was an NRP supporter, and that's why they wouldn't vote for NRP. You know what I mean? They like, no, they corruption and all of this, So big up. I guess the system worked in that case. The system worked in that case. Unfortunately, the system don't always work.
It doesn't.
But we need more cases of where the system is working, right? We need more cases.
What I think we need to mention is that I don't think, especially with this last election petition that came through, I don't think people should be afraid to bring these issues forward if they feel like um, illegal acts or fraud occurred, even though you feel, because really and truly it comes down to the judge's decision. I think bringing the cases forward and making it known that, hey, we are watching you, and if we sense that these things are happening, we will use the courts to make it right. I think that in itself is a way to put a check and a balance on the government or whomever, because really and truly it it favors the present government to be the ones who could benefit from election fraud. They are the ones who are in the position to benefit from acts like that, because they control the mechanisms that would facilitate election fraud. So the people need to put it on the opposition, whoever they are, because they would be the ones who bring cases like this forward. To even though the past few cases haven't worked in favor, like don't stop bringing it. If there's fraud happening, I think we as the people need to make sure that it's reported and it's dealt with, and the court is the place that handles these situations.
Oh, definitely. I honestly would have liked to hear the case. You know what I mean? I honestly would have liked to hear the case. But like you said, don't be afraid to come forward. Don't be afraid to be a whistleblower. An informer. That's what I can say.
Don't call it that.
What?
Don't call it that.
That's wrong. Informer.
You won't persuade people.
I'm sorry.
If we tell them be a whistleblower, they would quicker do it than if you say be an informer.
A country. Okay, okay. On a serious note, country above self, people. Country above self. At some point in time, you have to realize that generations of your seed is going to roam this earth, and you would want to hope to have the best society for those generations.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And the only way to do it is to put country above self, because when you get paid today, you might make it for tomorrow. Today's price is not yesterday's price. But yeah, I want to play a clip.
Play it.
I'm playing it. See it right there.
I believe that I have the benefit of experience when I say that we had a change of government in 2015, federally, and the allegations were salacious. Much was said. We were in office for 7 years. Nothing was done. I have seen a change of government now for the past 6 months. And again, the allegations are salacious. I am predicting today not a thing is going to be done. That's my prediction. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I am predicting today, I'm no soothsayer, but I have seen this dance before. I've heard this tune before. And those who stand in this honorable house and seek to say to our public that passing a piece of legislation is some panacea for good governance, I think that is being over-exuberant in terms of the language.
We got the premiere. But
Oh, wow.
that ain't even dry snitching, you know? Snitching. That ain't even dry snitching, bro. I can't even say
Can
dry
I
snitching
can I ask you what your opinion is on that clip?
on that clip. Yeah, for sure. You know, you definitely could ask me. Oh, well, it's sad on many counts, especially that, you know, government that he spoke about is his government. But yeah, let me not drop my voice there. The government that he spoke about was his government. The government that he talked about, the dance before, is his government.
He was the dancer. He said he's seen this dance before. He was the dancer.
Huh. But anyway, then I got nothing to do with that. Anyway, outside of that, I don't want to get too much into that. His comment overall is sad. Like, it's just this. It's just a display of our state of affairs. We don't care. That, I mean, to think that he could stand up in Parliament and just call them out like that. Like, yo, when it was my turn, me ain't do nothing.
Me ain't do nothing. I ain't gonna do nothing neither.
So, guess what? Y'all ain't gonna do anything. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Because I know when I had the chance, I didn't do anything. But it also makes me wonder, well, what are we doing in Nevis then? Is he able to do anything? Like, is he going to do anything? Did he not pass a Public Life and Integrity Act? It does not mean that it's just a... What did he say in the last part about good governance? Bro, sir, Premier, however you need to be addressed right now. If you're hearing my voice at any point in time, talking to you, you hear yourself telling the people that you did nothing and you're going to continually do nothing as well? With I can't wrap my head around it. The man just basically said he's not going to do anything because he had the chance to do it. He danced the dance and he didn't do anything. And Labour, you're not going to do nothing either because this is just how we roll. You know, we are politicians. We are in the same boat. Furthermore, I got this thing going on in Nevis right now. Public Life and Integrity. But that was just a sign. I'm going to put it down as something that I accomplish.
I checked off. I checked the box.
Yeah, but what he said to the end about good governance?
If we're going to pass it off as some sort of panacea for good governance.
What?
Those words. I have to add that word to my vocabulary. Panacea.
You think Mark don't know them words? I don't look them up. Mark, you must be deep in it. Thesaurus, boy. Mark must have got thesaurus. Right? But I need a word. Go replace this.
Yes, especially nice words. But I agree. That is my sentiment exactly, Ira. When you see a government, because the federal government, the Labour Party, they did campaign on anti-corruption. That was one of the big points that they campaigned on, right? And I think that no one could say for sure that is what caused them to win, but I think it was a big part of why they might have won this past election. How do you think I would feel as a citizen who would have gladly gone to the polls to vote, expecting changes to come with regards to anti-corruption, and then look at an elected member of parliament speak about that bill in such a manner? For me, it was damaging because I was like, okay, should I really be expecting anything to come from this? Is there really any change that could come with regards to anti-corruption? Is there something that we could ever actually expect to happen? But more so, for me, as a Nevision, what that signaled to me is that in the Nevis Island administration, because as we said, he's playing both roles, that's how he felt as a federal minister, but I feel like as his role in the Nevis Island administration, I should not expect anything to change with regard to corruption. That is what it says to me, that his government is not expecting to do anything with regards to anti-corruption in Nevis specifically.
Yeah.
So, as a Nevision, what I would have to do is to focus on the federal efforts. And I think we saw it played out, because when we talk about checking boxes and stuff, I remember in the last election, Tim brought up the Atlantic View. I think that's the name of it, the Atlantic View Hotel. There was some issue surrounding conflict of interest because of the Nevis minister at the time who was to own the development, the CBI development.
What brand of hotel been? You say the brand of hotel been again?
The brand
Atlantic
of the
View?
hotel was Atlantic View. I think that was the name of it.
Oh, okay.
Name brand.
Okay,
Yes.
name.
So
Never heard of it.
former Prime Minister Tim Harris, he brought that up during the whole election period. And if I remember correctly, Dr. Hodge, as the leader of the NRP at the time, I think she would have made some requests to the Integrity in Public Life Commission in Nevis to have that situation investigated. And I think the general public was looking forward to hear some kind of report back on the matter. And what we were told, and I can't say it verbatim because I forget the actual words that were used, but they basically said that the commission doesn't have the authority to do anything about the matter. And I think when it was looked at, it was investigated by members of the NRP, the act, so there are two acts, the Integrity in Public Life, the federal one, and there's a Nevis one. I don't think they have the same name. There are differences between the two. I can't say for sure I'm not legal minded. But basically the one that exists in St. Kitts has teeth, and the one in Nevis is toothless. So when you see it was an ordinance, right? So when you see that situation play out, and then you look at the Premier of Nevis acting in his capacity as a federal parliamentary representative, saying the federal house that nothing gonna happen, not a thing gonna happen. He's predicting that not a thing gonna happen. It makes you wonder if that is the attitude that exists.
Oh no, I lost Siobhan. And it's such a wonderful point. Oh my gosh. Attitude that exists. Are we rounding off as well too? It's coming up to 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock, sorry. I'll see if she lost power or something. Maybe she forgot to plug in her laptop or whatever she was using. Maybe she get hacked. No, the hackers them on the payroll. But yeah, definitely what she was saying was spot on. You have to wonder if this is just the attitude of the politicians, right? You have to wonder if it's all for show. It's I guess this would even be pork barreling, but they're using their time, repaying them and doing something just to get votes. We don't know if anything really is going to happen. Make sure she knows she got disconnected. Okay. So yeah, she had a battery die out on her. So you know how that is. But I don't want her to lose her train of thought, and I don't want to go too far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some of the comments that we have here. Okay. Javon Green said, I see the man stand up as the leader of opposition and say the laptop program is bad for Nevis, and yeah, I guess. Yeah, but that ain't really touch on corruption tonight. Big up yourself, Don. Big up yourself. Let me see if anything here on corruption. Mark could talk so because at the end of the day, they all vow and swear an oath of secrecy for what they say and do in cabinet behind closed doors. So he knows a lot of what we don't know. So when they do come out and make a show of the oratory skills, he can check them here. Okay. So if they really, I think I've heard of that oath of secrecy in cabinet, and that would tie into corruption. Because at some point in time, I guess there is some conversation that should be off limit. So I understand that, but they need some sort of mechanism for transparency, especially when it comes to public projects. Public projects is where we should be able to have. We shouldn't have to hire okay. If the government want to save taxpayers' money, put this stuff out there. When you're like on a quarterly basis or something, what was spent? How are you telling me your last receipts and them kind of thing? You know, let individuals have access to it so they could audit it themselves. You don't even have to pay anyone to audit. You don't have to boast that you brought anyone in and spend public money for auditing. You know, you put it out there, you said you boast and say everything is in the public domain, and you know, of course, yeah, the people in the public won't be able to ask for additional documents, but I'm hoping that you give them everything. And, you know, people are doing their own independent audit on the government, keeping the government in line. You know, here in America, you have a Second Amendment just for that, you know. But there's other ways we could do that. You know, we could give people the ability to look at stuff. Can you imagine, to this day, I cannot look at the budget because there is no PDF version available of the budget. I mean, all these kind of things just don't sit well, you know, with good governance. I'm sorry that I have to be talking like this about a place that I love. But to be honest, in order to do better, I just need to see they just need to do better. They just really need to do better. That's all. They need to do better. Still waiting on Siobhan. I don't want her to lose her train of thought. I don't want to come off of this this part. Okay, we the masses are not functioning as bosses or employers that we are. Facts. We allow those who we employ to bamboozle us and use reverse psychology, making us feel okay. You're back? Can't hear
Yes.
you. Okay, I could hear you now.
Is there an
All right.
echo?
No, there's no echo.
Okay,
Your
sorry.
lighting, your lighting dim. No,
Oh, I could
it's
probably
fine.
move now. I had to
Yeah,
switch to my phone because my computer battery died. It just shut down. I'm sorry.
that's fine. That's fine. We're wrapping up soon anyway. Dang, we're wrapping up soon. Siobhan, you remember where you were? You remember what you were saying? It's so deep in your thought. You know, you were talking.
Yes, it just dropped flap.
Yeah,
But yes, I think I was making the point of when you see that how that situation played out, where we saw that the integrity in public life law was basically made to be ineffective in Nevis, and then you have the premier who has the sentiment that nothing is going to happen. I think the people of Nevis need to look at that and wonder if that is really his views on anti-corruption. And if that is the case, I think we need to call on the federal ministers to make sure that any legislation that is in place with regards to anti-corruption is equally effective in Nevis as it is in
Yeah.
St. Kitts, because it's a federation.
Mhm.
And like you were talking about earlier, even though the ministers of St. Kitts, the ministers in St. Kitts, they are elected by petitions and they represent the people of their constituencies in St. Kitts. I think laws like this are a national issue, and it shouldn't be a case where one law in one of the islands is effective and the other one is not.
Yeah. How one of them will go to the dentist every every 6 months, and the other one I talk about they're afraid to go to the dentist and all the teeth fall out. It don't make no sense. It makes no sense.
None
Makes no
whatsoever.
sense. But you know what I
And it's
realized?
something that should be questioned. Yes.
We got a lot of teethless stuff because we don't had not Charleston Accord teethless. You know, we
Very
don't,
much so.
I don't understand why all these teethless things are coming up. What
Pure
was the word
gums.
they use again at the end of
Which one?
at the end of the discussion of good governance?
Panacea. The panacea.
Big up, big up,
That's the word.
big up, big up, big up. No man, really and truly, we come on here from time to time. The topics is weekly. Check them out tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. We really just want to see better. It's 10 o'clock, so we're gonna round up, round down,
Did
turn off.
while I was gone, did you talk about those two things, the ombudsman and the okay?
Nope.
I
No,
just
that's what we're gonna
wanted
be
to make
talking about now.
I just wanted to make sure that the people know, because like I said, it doesn't seem as if there would be much to expect on the Nevis front. But the federal government has so far with the what you call the bill, the anti-corruption bill. I think that's the short name for it. They have put in place. Well, the main thing that bill did was they established the role of a special prosecutor who would deal with anti-corruption matters.
Oh.
Yes. So that is the new thing. We have also seen recently that they have appointed an ombudsman. The name slips me and my computer is down, so I can't remember his name at the moment. Someone in the comments can help me out there. But he has been appointed. This is not a new role. Apparently, it existed in the last Labour administration. I'm not sure, though, exactly how useful that role was at the time. But I think now it would definitely be more useful. And if I remember correctly, the role of that position is to accept complaints on matters of maladministration. They went on to define what maladministration is. I can't, like I said, my stuff is down, so I can't refer to it. But it's basically matters that have to do with unfairness and things like that. So how I read it at the time, it's like, and there should be meetings going on publicly to educate people. But if you deem that a member of the administration has done something that is discriminatory or unfair, you can take those matters to the ombudsman, and he has the power to investigate the matter and then go and report back to, well, I'm pretty sure there will be whistleblowers protections. I'm not sure if your name is going to be called or anything, but they have the right to go back and go to the person whom you made the complaint on, address the matter and make recommendations as to how the matter can be resolved.
Got it.
Like I said, there isn't a whole lot that I saw. I know he did an interview with Freedom FM on his role. I wasn't able to watch it, but they did say that there will be more efforts to educate the public on what the role is for.
Okay.
So that is one. The special prosecutor, that is the more crucial one, because since I heard the name special prosecutor, for some reason I've been calling them a she. I have no idea if it's a male or female. They have not been appointed as yet, but that person has the authority by the law to actually not only investigate matters that come up with regards to corruption, but they also have the authority, with the blessing of the director of the public prosecution, to prosecute the person. So they can take it to court, not only for criminal matters, but for civil matters as well. So if you want to bring a civil suit against a member of parliament in their parliamentary capacity or as an individual, you can use the special prosecutor to do so. So
Okay.
I think this is very important for the public to know that they actually have avenues to fight corruption that they see. And that's part of why we brought this episode as well. I think for you to be able to be a part in fighting corruption, you have to know and you have to recognize what it is. So we have those two positions available. Do you have the bill? There's a section in there where it talks about the ancillary laws that roll into the anti-corruption bill. One of the bills I know had to do with public procurement. The other one had to do with integrity in public life. The other one had to do with freedom of information. And basically, the bill, it lists out some offenses that are constituted as fraud, but it also says, okay, the things that exist in these laws that already exist on the books, this anti-corruption law applies to those activities as well. So when we talk about people not doing bids and awarding projects to associates, we call that cronyism. When we see those kinds of things happening, because it's part of the public procurement law that directly addresses how public contracts should be bid. If there's a breach of that law, then the special prosecutor has the right to investigate if you bring the matter before them, and it goes from there. But I want to say this: if you know something didn't happen and you're not sure if something happened, don't go and call the special prosecutor and make up a story and say that this happened because the party that is in power is not your party.
Gotcha.
There is provisions, I think, in the law that would give penalties to people who misuse it. So just be aware of that.
The appointment of special prosecutor. There's things that disqualify you from being a special prosecutor.
Yes, you can't have traffic tickets. You can't be in bankruptcy. Stuff like that.
You'll make sure you pay a traffic ticket.
I think, to be honest, Ira, I know many people are looking for someone local to hold the position.
Nope.
I honestly feel like for this to be effective, it has to be someone from the outside. I don't think we can expect anybody. Yeah, I don't think we can expect anybody here currently to perform the role in the manner that it needs to be performed. It has to be someone who is completely impartial.
Madam, I was thinking while you're there talking about it, I'm here like, that's why I looked it up. I wanted to see how this special prosecutor is going to be appointed. Because when you talk about giving somebody a job because they support you, I don't know if it's gonna fall into cronyism, because this person is going to be qualified. You have to be qualified. This is not one of them where you could just put anyone in there. You have to put somebody with the qualifications. Come on, it can't be that blatant. But are they gonna do anything against their own government? And then when the government change, do you change that person? You know what I mean?
The appointment is for 5 years, and then they have the ability to be reappointed after that. But so there is a term on the appointment.
So I have the second draft. And I'm sorry, the first draft. I'm looking at the first draft. So I don't know if this is the latest copy or the latest draft.
The latest one is on the SKNIS site. If anybody is looking to see it.
Okay.
If you just Google anti-corruption bill, you'll see it, and it's on, like I said, it's on the SKNIS site.
Yeah, it definitely would have to be somebody independent. Somebody who who really wear the blindfold of justice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you need some. I would hope that exists in St. Kitts and Nevis, but the likelihood of the, them giving somebody is
If you
probably not.
appoint anybody local, somebody from one side or the other will have and say that that person cannot be, they would not believe. And for this to be effective, I think that person has to be trusted, whether it's from, because to be honest, the law is in place for everybody, but it would be those in opposition who uses the laws the most, because they're the ones who are going to be wanting to bring accusations against the sitting government.
What's the
Either way,
website?
though, sknis
Okay,
.gov.kn, I think it is.
okay, I got it.
Um,
Okay, sorry to cut you off. Continue.
no, you're good. Um, like I said, it would be mostly used by the opposition.
Hmm.
Um,
No,
but it should be, there should be some trust in the system to work effectively from either side.
I don't feel like they can use it. And the problem is now, you have to realize, I'm talking to the people now when I say you, that is anyone could go to these people. You know? Isn't you don't have
Anyone,
to wait for the government officials to go to these people. You know? And I know the bill talk
anyone.
about after the fact. So you're becoming um like you could be guilty just by seeing something and not saying anything, right?
Right.
After the fact. You know, if you see something, I said, "Man, me hush me more." I said nothing, Jet. What would happen is you're a part of that. You're now a part of it. Is there any protection for the people, the whistleblowers? Have they ever
Um,
mentioned any protection for the whistleblowers?
I do think that that was brought up during the parliamentary debate. I'm not sure to what extent it was already covered, but the Honorable Premier, and I think um, the member from number 11 as well, they brought up whistleblower protection, and I think it was noted that that would be added, because it would be very important, especially if your job is what has exposed you to the fraudulent activities occurring. You would want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that, even if there's an investigation and it doesn't come out that, there's anything to prosecute, if there is no whistleblower protection, then you might as well tell yourself that your job is gone, and we don't want
Mm-hmm.
that to happen. So I think um,
Job, job you talk about? Yeah, I mean, life gone. Like
right,
no
right.
absolute power, you know?
Right. So that is something that I think definitely has to be. And I think, like I said, it was brought up in the debate, and I think it was addressed.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. For me, the most important part to all of this is the whistleblower. I think without the
Mm-hmm.
whistleblower, because it doesn't seem like the ombudsman or the special prosecutor would work just out, like, just look for cases and start
No, I
going
don't
through
think so.
stuff. It has to be brought to them. I
Right.
don't know if that means they don't have the power, and I think they should give them the power to start some sort of internal investigation if they want to. Randomly, I want to start looking at the PS of agriculture. I want to look at this project that's taking place in Nevis. They should have that
Audits.
power. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
want to see these documents. This is the only way. Otherwise, you're just
Mm-hmm.
gonna be paying somebody probably to do nothing, because nobody can be blowing the whistle. Nobody can be
No,
saying
the, the,
anything.
the people, and if you have to listen, if you have to utilize people who live abroad, if you live in Nevis and you see something and you don't want your name call your auntie who live in New York and who has the right to vote in Nevis and say, hey, help me out with this thing.
Just
But of
drop the
course, you would
files
have
by Real
you
Talk
you
Corner.
you would you would have to to bring a complaint or a case. You would have to have evidence, um, So yeah, just make sure you forward the information, and if that's what you have to do to get it done, get it done. The only alternative is to sit down and, like you said, watch and not do anything. And then what if in the end somebody else brings it, and because it's your job, you caught up in it some kind of how, and then you go down with everybody else? Because we've seen how people can be thrown under the bus. Don't let that be you.
Yeah. 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 If you have files, real files and data, just send it to our email address. We would have our legal team go through it. And we will bring it forward. We'll bring it forward in grand style. So if you want it out there, don't worry about it. We have the people that would do it. I would take it on. Okay, so corruption. We spoke about sexual misconduct. We spoke about cronyism, nepotism. We spoke about bribery. We spoke about pork barrel. And then we did an introduction on the anti-corruption.
The one type we didn't talk about that I wish we had time to do was the kickbacks, but I think everybody knows what that is. Everybody could identify that if they see it. So I don't think we need to go into that one in depth, really.
Give them something to come back for the series. So in the series, okay, we are right now. We just discussed the conventional forms of corruption. Some of them, not all of them. The reciprocal corruption, the corruption that both parties benefit. We ain't talking about the thieving. The thieving we ain't touch, but
embezzlement,
thieving. Anyway, thieving, embezzlement. Yeah, we didn't touch on that. So of course we will. We have to speak on those kind of matters. As Chevron mentioned, there is also kickbacks. There is also, we want to kind of talk about, well, we know corruption is bad and probably should be dealt with by the law, but there is also some consequences of corruption that are not really known. I like to just consider them the unknown consequences of corruption. What are the real effects of corruption? I'm just going to give a hint, like underdevelopment is one of the, because imagine you're taking money and it's supposed to go towards a project, but that money is being funneled someplace else. Other ways. So that is the other part that we're going to have to touch in the other part of this series. I would just like to say right now, thanks everyone for tuning in to Real Talk Corner, Ren Network. Thank you for bringing us. Definitely thank you, Chevron, for being the guest host and
thank you for having me again.
Enjoy it. I think we have a few more episodes with you for sure. And we may come back with part 2 next week. Let me look at the date before. We may come back with part 2 next week. Is it next week we're out, or is it this? I know we're out on the 17th.
The following.
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. We may come back with a part 2 or anything. And I would also take the time out to just say hello. It's Inter Premier Week. Represent your team. It's for the love of the children and the enjoyment. But you don't know. I'm from Charlestown. And I have to big up Charlestown Primary every time. Everywhere.
Every time.
Can't roll like a tiger. You know what I mean? But we definitely get roll on the pitch.
I hope you guys who are in Nevis get a chance to go out to support the children. I think they've been practicing hard. This is the biggest event for them. If your school wins or not, support the kids. Let them go and have fun. If your child runs and your child doesn't win, tell them you love them anyway, and they will win next time. No punishment for not winning. Charlestown Primary, go Orange.
Yeah, go Orange all the while. Big up yourself, Charlestown Primary. Big up yourself. And tune in tomorrow night for the topics. And I don't know. Siobhan, you're on tomorrow night?
I have to talk it over with the boss, but I
Okay.
might be. Might
Okay.
be.
Okay. All right then. Big up yourself. And we're out.
Okay, we have pink one, Stephen.
I have me orange.
The orange.
It look orange to me.
Okay.
Definitely look orange to me. You look orange. Hey, Siobhan, I gotta run, so I gotta talk to you later. Jelly, you
Yes,
still
you.
up?